Furthermore, our next news story here, we got some updates on the border. Look, Joe Biden still has smashed the U.S. history record on the amount of illegal immigrants crossing the border. Never thought I'd see it in my life, but it's happened. With that, obviously comes drugs, smuggling, sex trafficking. You got children being smuggled across the border. And when, they don't pay or something takes place, something happens, these smugglers will literally leave children out in the middle of the desert. The story I'm covering right now is not the only time this has happened. We've seen actual video clips in the past of just a young boy. I mean, he was 7 or 9 or something like that, just bawling his eyes out in the middle of freaking nowhere. Luckily, Border Patrol found him and saved him, or else he would have just died. Think of the amount of children that actually die, that don't make it across that desert and are just left to die. Nobody know who they are. Nobody's going to know their names. Nobody knows they're ever going to die. It's terrible. This is the stuff Joe Biden supports. This is the stuff Joe Biden and the Democrats love. And for them to say they don't love it, it's a lie. Because if you didn't want this to happen, you would lock up the border, you would do things legally, and make sure people are coming across the right way, the legal way. Well, a 4-month-old baby and an 18-month-old toddler were rescued after being abandoned in the desert by smugglers, according to John R. Modlin, Chief Patrol Agent at the U.S. Border's Tucson sector. He tweeted this: yesterday, smugglers left an infant and a toddler in the Sonoran Desert to die. This is cruelty, and it is gut-wrenching. I mean, it is terrible to think about. Not just a toddler or a baby, but heck, even an adult, just to leave them behind. I mean, there's pregnant women that are just left behind to rot and die in the desert. Early on, when we started the Bald Brad Show about 18, 19 months ago, we literally talked about how the ranchers in Texas had never seen so many dead bodies on their ranch, and they didn't know what to do with them because people weren't coming and collecting and picking them up. They were used to having 1 or 2, maybe a year, but they were looking at dozens and dozens, and still are. People are just dead on their land. And imagine, like I said, imagine when you have 200,000 people, over 200,000 people coming across the border each and every month. Just think about the amount of people, one, that obviously aren't being apprehended. The gotaways are just coming into the interior. All the drugs, the terrorists, the violent gang members, all that stuff. But think about the people that are dying on that trip. And then you have AOC during the Trump administration coming in with their photos because they were drinking out of a fountain with clean water. The water fountain that they were drinking in those facilities is better than any water that you can ever find in literally the entire bottom hemisphere of the globe down there. The water is pure. It's great. It's the best water you can get. I sound like Trump. It's great. It's best. It's the purest water. It's so natural. The minerals in it alone will sit there and make you buff. It's like Popeye with the spinach. But you guys get what I'm saying. She's getting all pissed off over the mishandling of what was taking place at the border, people in cages and all this stuff, whatever you want to say. But where is she now? Where's Ilhan Omar? Where's the Democrat Party on this, where you literally have now babies being left behind? If they really cared, they would stop it, but they're not going to. Phoenix 10 reported that according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, an agent was notified by an arrested migrant group that the youths were basically left in Lukeville Port of Entry on the Oregon Pipe Cactus National Monument, like within that vicinity. The Associated Press reported that a migrant group of individuals who had been arrested told an agent about the kids' whereabouts. So thank God somebody talked about them, because if they didn't get this report and actually act on it, you know what would have happened. These kids would have been dead, long gone, kaput. But it's so frustrating because they're putting all of this on Republicans. I mean, we talked about Eric Adams of New York, how Greg Abbott is busing these illegal immigrants to their cities because New York City is a sanctuary city. It's a right to house city, right to shelter. And he's complaining about having about 5,100 immigrants sent to him, saying we can't help these people. We can't even cover them. A city full of millions of people, he can't even handle a little over 5,000. Where you have Texas, Arizona getting anywhere from 6,000 to 12,000 or more a day, and they expect them to cover the cost and all the expenses. Then you got Muriel Bowser of Washington D.C. also complaining about getting buses of migrants there. But we thought you wanted them. This is the Democrat Party platform. But who are they blaming? They're blaming us, the Republicans. So far this year, folks, Tucson sector has seen a 12% increase in unaccompanied children being smuggled across the border over fiscal year 2021. And get this, are you sitting down for this number? 234% increase over fiscal year 2020. Basically, since Joe Biden's taken office, things have just gone through the roof. Things you've never seen before. Quite literally. When I say that, sometimes it almost seems like a joke. Like, he's exaggerating a little bit. No. He has literally shattered records. We have never seen these numbers in the history of this country. It's not an exaggeration. It's actual fact. Things are that bad. The Pentagon has rebuffed Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser's request for the National Guard to be deployed in order to help the city cope with the influx of migrants. That's what I was talking about. She's calling in the National Guard for help because she can't handle it, but yet she wants to be a place where they can all flock to and help, or at least she says with her words. Her actions, of course, are different, and we get that quite consistently with the progressive left. The Republican governors of Texas and Arizona have bused migrants to the nation's capital through trips being undertaken voluntarily, but that's not what they're saying. They're pushing a lie. Eric Adams and Muriel Bowser are lying, saying that we're forcing them to get on these buses and go there. But they sign a paper in their own language saying where they want to choose. And then they say, oh, well, they're not being fed. They're coming here malnourished. No, they were malnourished before. We forget that literally they get pallets of baby formula before actual Americans do. They're getting fed, in some cases, better than Americans do. They're getting housed in hotels while our vets sleep on the streets in the cold. So don't give me this stuff of they're not being taken care of. They're not being helped. They're literally chauffeured across the United States in a nice coach bus at times. Some of them were getting COVID-19 tests for free early on. And it was so bad where literally some localities in Texas and Arizona were having to declare a state emergency, a local emergency, because they couldn't fund the costs. While Joe Biden was busing them into other cities and localities. But Washington, D.C. and New York's going to complain. It just shows you that one of the biggest cities in the world, New York City, can't handle an influx of over 5,000 people. You think that's good ran? Like a better ran city than, say, a Florida or a state of Florida? I don't think so. I don't think so one bit. On Monday, Bowser tweeted, "We will continue fighting for D.C. statehood so that in the future, when the mayor of D.C. says that we need to support the National Guard, she has the ability to deploy the Guard." But you can't do that because you can barely handle a single little thing. You can't even handle 5,000 people. I think Washington, D.C. actually has less than what New York received, but they all expect, again, Republicans to take care of this. They expect us to be the ones to take the blame for all of this when they're the ones to blame. But you're not seeing anybody at the U.S.-Mexico border. Joe Biden has never been to the border while he's president. Kamala Harris flew over the border and she was the one in charge of it. They don't care about this. If this would have taken place, it would have happened already. And I've said that countless times here on the show, but I'm repeating myself because, like I said, we got a lot of new viewers. We got a lot of new American patriots here supporting the show. Remember, watch the show all the way through, folks. Hit that like and subscribe. Leave us a comment as well. It does support us. It does yeoman's work, especially with big tech trying to censor us. You all know with that going on. And with the midterms coming up, Lord knows if we're still even going to have a show because it might be banned. Who knows here. But there you go. Democrats just leaving babies and infants out in the desert to die. These two are lucky. Just imagine the hundreds, if not thousands, that are left there rotting in the desert, never to be found. But they care, folks. They tell us with their words all the time that they care. The only thing they care about is removing our rights, i.e. the First Amendment, which we just got done talking about censorship, i.e. the Second Amendment, which the House of Representatives just try to put a ban on certain semi-automatic weapons. But it's all right. There's no infringement on your Second Amendment rights. Nothing happened, folks. It's all smoke, no fire. Don't worry about it. So it's just crazy what's going on. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.